Welcome back, my fellow patriots, to the Save Our Republic Daily video series. We have finished the Bill of Rights, and now we're marching on to that world-famous, unbelievably important, on the tip of your tongue, 11th Amendment. No, reality is that nobody knows what the 11th Amendment is. And that is because there has been a Supreme Court case which has basically rendered it meaningless. But it is an important lesson for us to understand, and it also shows how a Supreme Court decision can be so fundamentally altering to the constitutional order. So it all starts actually with the Supreme Court in a decision called Chisholm versus Georgia. And what happened was that there was somebody in South Carolina gave supplies during the American Revolution to the state of Georgia, and that person was never paid. So they sued, the estate sued after they passed away, the state of Georgia to collect their debt. And it went up to the United States Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made a ruling which shocked the nation. And Georgia was so confident that the case was going to be tossed out that they didn't even appear in the Supreme Court. And why would they do that? Well, there's this doctrine called sovereign immunity, which means that the government can't be sued unless it gives somebody permission. And the state of Georgia said, we have never given permission for someone from out of state to sue us. Someone in South Carolina can't sue us, and therefore we don't have to defend this lawsuit. And this is a carryover from English law in which the king could not be sued. And so, though there's controversy about why do we have sovereign immunity, we don't have a king, but that idea, that doctrine of law has persisted in the United States even after the American Revolution. So how did they lose? Well, the Supreme Court found that Article 3 of the United States Constitution, that's the article, remember, go back to some of our earlier videos, that created the United States Supreme Court and federal judiciary, vesting the judicial power in that branch of government. They say that gave power to the federal courts to make rulings against the states. This was enormously controversial. Georgia was so enraged that it passed a law which said that if someone tried to enforce that decision of the Supreme Court to try to collect the debt, that it would hang that person. That's serious. I mean, they literally passed that law. And in fact, this not only enraged Georgia, it enraged the entire leadership of the country, including Congress. And they immediately went to work to amending the Constitution to address this kind of situation. But why is it so controversial? Because the whole idea of the federal Constitution was that we had these sovereign states that gave up some power, limited power. Remember, I talked about enumerated power and federalism. I just talked about that in the 10th Amendment and the 9th Amendment and earlier in the series, that the federal government only had the power that was specifically given to it by the Constitution. And this generation did not believe that it gave up the power to be immune from out-of-state lawsuits. They thought it was quite the opposite, that that power was still vested within the states. And so this was a fundamental affront to federalism and the idea of enumerated powers. So Congress, what happened was the decision was rendered on Valentine's Day in 1794. By March 4th of 1794, so we're talking like 3 weeks, both houses of Congress approved the 11th Amendment, and it's send it to the states for ratification. It's ratified within a year, amazingly fast. And it says, the judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced to prosecute against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. So basically it says, in any lawsuit, no federal case can be heard when a citizen of one state sues a state of another state. So if you're in Michigan and you sue Michigan, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you're in Ohio and you sue Florida. Florida is immune, period. That's what it says. And the Supreme Court, in a subsequent decision in 1824, and this is when John Marshall writes the opinion. I'm sorry if I said earlier that John Marshall wrote the Chisholm decision. That would not have been right. But in 1824, the United States Supreme Court rules that yes, you can't sue the state, but you can sue its officers. So you can sue a governor. You can sue a head of a department of transportation. You can sue the health department person. So somebody in Nevada can't sue the state of Texas directly, but it can sue the governor of that state and get not quite the same relief. It does kind of shrink down what remedies somebody can achieve, but the reality is that it fundamentally alters what happens there. So that's why the 11th Amendment has not really taken the effect that you might think it would, because of this decision in 1824 by the United States Supreme Court. It teaches us a few lessons. One lesson is that the Supreme Court is the final decision maker of what the Constitution means. And even in the face of what would seem to be overwhelming historical support for a particular view, it can make another ruling and change how the Constitution is enforced. A second lesson is that even if you can amend the Constitution really quickly, but whether or not it takes effect again lies at the feet of the Supreme Court. Very interesting and very controversial. Until next time, don't forget about America's Survival Guide at americasurvivalguide.com, Patriot Week at patriotweek.org, and the Patriot Lessons American History and Civics podcast, available on all podcast platforms, as well as the Patriot Lessons TV series, also available at patriotweek.org. God bless you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. God bless you, and God bless America.